For Ms. Dwight, a couple of questions. What kind of criteria do you use for the investments that you make in the various companies to do research for you?
We base it on a variety of criteria. The fundamental guidance for us is that there are promising therapy for cystic fibrosis. Do we believe that a compound or a small molecule or whatever sort of basic research is promising and something worth taking an extra shot on goal against the fight against the disease? Once we get through that process and look at the viability of the science, we also want to look at the viability of the company that we may be partnering with. And as I mentioned before, venture capital is also a great marker of us that we have a viable partner, that we have someone who has been proven to know how to take that science, that promising science, and move it towards commercialization and towards the patient. So it really is a combination of both science, analytics, and also business prowess and ability to move the therapy into the next phase.
How do you look at the science, though? Do you have some scientists on your staff? Do you have some doctors that understand and can look at this and see that it's got potential? Or I'm not a scientist, so I'm just kind of curious.
I'm not either. So I can brag on our very well-respected scientific team. We have a medical team, and it's actually an independent entity below the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation called Cystic Fibrosis Foundation Therapeutics. We have medical doctors and bench scientists on staff, and also many folks around the country advising us on the promise of the therapies. And really, the foundation is recognized as the leader in cystic fibrosis research, convening many of these scientists together through evaluations internally and also through these expert panels nationwide. We're able to look at what is going on in cystic fibrosis research, and also I think particularly, as I mentioned in my statement, this is a rare disease. So typically something may come as a promise for cystic fibrosis from the bench science, but in many cases some of the therapies that have been most promising for cystic fibrosis may not have originated as a therapy for cystic fibrosis. They may have been a molecule that was developed for something else in its entirety, and someone along the way said, you know what, this might work for us. And so we're able to look at the science through our experts and also through our business model of venture philanthropy with grants provided, say, why don't you come try and work this with us? We think the science here has promise. We think this is something that may work for a disease that you may not have even heard of. And so we're going to bring you to the table with funding and experts in the science area to say, let's try it for cystic fibrosis. And we're very fortunate in that we have over 30 therapies in our product development pipeline that have yielded some promise for this disease, and more than 4 are in patients today because of that willingness to take a new risk.
I appreciate your passion. I can hear it in your voice. There was kind of a common thing among all of you this morning with regards to the size of the awards or the grants from the different programs. Each of you said it needed to be larger. I guess my question would be this. If you have a finite pool of money, would you rather have larger awards and fewer, meaning you may not get anything for your projects? Or would you rather keep it the same to make sure that we maximize the ability of each of you to be able to get some dollars for your particular program? Let's start with Dr. Kenny.
In the end, it's not the actual number of grants that are awarded. You obviously have to have an award that's going to have an impact on the business, and that can lead to that commercialization. And so therefore, I think that should be, again, a decision that can be titered to the conditions of the company. The agencies should have impact on that. So the absolute number of grants is not the critical part. Making sure that the amount of money is fitting with the costs of the ongoing research that are required in today's dollars to make an impact on that company and getting that company towards commercialization.
One of the things we applaud the committee for is language in the bill that calls for a special focus on rare or orphan diseases. Again, as I mentioned in my testimony, many times a rare disease is overlooked and the commercialization opportunities for it are less. It's a small population. And so we have asked that you all consider increasing the ability of the grants program to look for opportunities to support these non-commercialized opportunities for rare disease and set aside a specific amount for orphan or rare disease products development, because it is one place where the government really can and has in the past through other legislative initiatives played a critical role in bringing therapies to market that might not otherwise ever be developed for small patient populations.
Yes.
Let me just jump in here and make a comment that's just slightly different than the prevailing view that you've heard thus far. We do agree that contract award sizes need to be increased. I can't tell you at the number of Phase 1, Phase 2 reviews that I've been in, particularly with DoD technical monitors, where there has been substantial hand-wringing over the fact that these award values are so small, not very much work can be done. So there's no question that the award sizes should be increased. But I would also argue that the allocation level needs to be increased as well. It's been set at 2.5% for many, many years. It needs to be looked at as an increase to 3.75% we've proposed, in part because of the fact that more funding that's made available to the SBIR program means all of the innovations that we're talking about here today can be achieved. And the important thing is that it's not new budget authority. So within the confines of whether there's an emerging PAYGO legislation or not, this could fit into both PAYGO and within the existing budget authority as is currently established.
Time is expired. Mr.